Welcome into the Michigan Football Report. It is Name, Image, and Likeness Day. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some Michigan Football Stadium news out there. What's the latest on capacity and the COVID-19 vaccine. Michigan has come out with a pretty interesting policy that a lot of people are questioning and some people are really championing. So we'll dive into those stories. Before we do, a little customer survey, audience survey. Which of these platforms do you think is the best for getting Michigan football news, Michigan football information? What do you want? Obviously, you can go to a website. You can go listen to the radio, see what's going on TV, if anything's going on in Michigan. But for digital media, for the new wave products, do you like YouTube, like us? It could be us, could be other channels. Type YT down below. If it's Twitter, go ahead and type T. If you can do some Facebook, people sharing information, articles and such, or shows on there, or groups that you're involved, or if it is podcast. And if you choose somebody other than YouTube, love to know why. Maybe it's somebody that we can reach out to and have on the show sometime. So type YT, type T, type FB, or type P, which is the best platform for Michigan football news. I am your host, James Yoder. We have got our Thursday, July 1st, Michigan football news roundup. 3 topics that I find pretty interesting. It's frankly a pretty heavy news day in the last 24 hours and otherwise boring time of the year for college football fans. So my first story, top story of the day around this program, University of Michigan is requiring vaccines for all athletes, and this is going down ASAP. It's pretty interesting to see. Michigan is giving their athletes till August 1st to get the vaccine, and anybody who has had the Johnson & Johnson, the 2 vaccines that require 2 shots, anyone who's got their first one, they're actually required to get their second shot by July 15th. They've just got 14 days to do so. If they don't, Michigan's not going to let them play this year at all. That includes athletes for fall and winter spring sports. So basketball, everybody wrestling, baseball, etc. You've got a month to get your vaccine, and a lot of people are very happy about it. Some people are. I don't know if it's necessary, right? Why do I say that? I think from the college football perspective, from this Michigan perspective, I'm not going to talk about other programs. Let's just focus on Michigan. You certainly have, this vaccine and this virus has been highly politicized, and that's fine. And so by forcing the vaccine on your student athletes, I think in some ways you're signaling to one side, but I don't want to necessarily get into that aspect of it. But there's so many things that colleges should be addressing and have ignored for not just months or weeks, but decades. Think about how many drunk driving deaths there are in colleges or in and around bars and restaurants every single year. Think about sexual violence on campus. Many of it, often there's problems within football, basketball programs where athletes are accused of things. Think about all the problems that you had if you're out of college age, or even if you're in that age, you had as an 18 to 22-year-olds, all the things that you're kind of trying to solve in your life. And if you're a high-level athlete, if you can play for Michigan, if you can get a scholarship at the University of Michigan, the risk, folks, let's be honest here. We know what the risks are at this point. We've been doing this for 15, 16 months now. A high-level athlete has almost no chance of getting sick. So from coronavirus, if they get sick, it'll be sniffles, they'll be down, bad taste for a week, maybe 2 at absolute worst. Now, they could transfer it to other people. But how is that how is the football department or the football field, the practice field, the weight room, how is that this bucket of coronavirus quarantine that you think you can control if you're a football program or any of these softball, baseball, basketball, wrestling? These students can go to bars, and they are, believe me, right? They can go to their parents' house. Their parents are going to work and socializing without masks, not knowing if people are vaccinated. If people have already gotten the vaccine, if they want to, I encourage them to. And if they vaccine, ideally, they are not going to get sick. They're probably not going to transfer the virus. And if someone does not want to, for whatever reasons they choose, then they shouldn't be a threat to other students that are vaccinated or other players or coaches. They're only a threat to themselves, and so or other people who choose not to get the vaccine. So I think we got to let these players who are adults make those decisions. Forcing it on them, I don't think is a good look. I don't want to make it as a political thing. I just want to make it a medical freedom thing. It's a precedent. If you start doing it now, what happens in the future where universities could start dictating medical decisions for athletes in all ranges, not just with a global pandemic that's kind of winding down. All mask, all shutdowns have been pretty much lifted across the entire country. So Michigan putting this in there, I think it's going to be controversial. If you go on Facebook, I know we just asked you guys some questions about where you get your news. But if you go on social media platforms, it is very split down the middle. Some people are championing it. Some people are saying it's the worst decision in history. We thought you'd bring in the news. I think you should let the students make the decision personally, not trying to make it political, but it is what it is. Next up, though, and this is maybe piggybacking on this other one, is full capacity in Michigan Stadium. Announced last night that the University of Michigan Stadium is going to be full capacity, 107,501, and with the overfill and counting all the players and coaches and refs, you'll get up to 110, 112,000 for some of the bigger games, and that's good news to me. But it's kind of counterintuitive to that last point, right? If a student athlete could buy a ticket and sit in the stands, no vaccine, no mask required, to sit. You've been to Michigan Stadium. If you're watching the show, I'm sure at least once in your life, you're sitting like this, right? It's bleachers. How is that not a safety concern, but you want the players who are healthy athletes? I think it's counterintuitive. We saw this, what's happening in the College World Series where North Carolina State players were not able to play, but the stadium was allowed to be 100% capacity. It's counterintuitive. I think, though, it is rational decision-making where the school is basically saying there's no there's nothing holding people back from going to bars and restaurants, returning to work, seeing their friends. There's no restrictions in almost every state in the country right now. So for Michigan to try and prevent that at Michigan Stadium, have some capacity limit, I think was going to look kind of foolish in September, October, November when we get over a year and a half outside of coronavirus, and the vaccine had been out. By the time the season starts, the vaccine will be out for over 8 months, and daily access to it, same day access to it will be 5-6 months. But by the end of the season, it'll be 8-9 months where anybody can get the vaccine same day. So for Michigan to come up with some plan that didn't allow for full capacity would have been foolish. It's a rational decision making, and it doesn't put Michigan at a disadvantage to other schools in the Big Ten that will obviously choose to be 100% capacity too, or schools in other conferences that have already announced that they will be 100% capacity. So if you want to go to a Michigan football game this year, you can do it, and you can sit packed in like sardines at Michigan Stadium, one of the great stadium environments in all of sports. But I'll ask you this question. Will you attend a game this season? Had a couple people ask me in the last day or two. It's like, James, what games are you going to this year? And I typically go to 2 or 3 games a year, and there's been years, and I haven't lived in the Midwest in 15 years at this point. There's been a couple of years where I have traveled by plane to 4 or 5 Michigan games per season. I think 2018 I went to 5 home games, and I don't know this year. I actually enjoyed last year not traveling, not spending a lot of money on travel, and just being able to watch the game in HD and then watch another game afterwards or go on my day. So I want to know from you guys. Go down in the comment section. Let me know, will you attend a Michigan football game this season? And while you're down there, you're going to scroll right past the subscribe button here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. 13,600 subscribers we're at. I told you the guys at Michigan Podcast, somehow they passed us. And I'm a competitive guy, right? I don't want anybody to have that. And you guys have been part of the journey with me. I really appreciate it. So if you haven't subscribed yet, but you've been watching, you like the show, you like that we bring you information almost every, not every day at this point. During the season, it'll be every day. Make sure you subscribe. And if you are subscribed, you think somebody might like this channel, send them that link, youtube.com/Michigan TV, and say, yo, subscribe to Michigan Football Report. That guy, James, he is one handsome fella. All right, the big story, we kind of kept it towards the end of the video, name, image, and likeness. It is out, and it is the wild, wild west, folks. You've already had a handful of athletes from all walks of life, from sports, gymnastics, softball players. You've had quite a few football players. I saw one, De'Ara King from the University of Miami Hurricanes. He signed a $20,000 deal to be the spokesperson of a moving company called, I think it's Campus Studs. I'm looking at my producer like, what kind of name of a company is that? Campus Studs Moving, right? But it's the wild, wild west, and Michigan has put out some pretty robust rules and guidelines for their student athletes, and how companies who want to work those student athletes can approach their athletes in connection with the state of Michigan law, which they have to abide by to be able to offer this. So I think I need to say this before I kind of dive into some of the details. Jim Harbaugh, Harbaugh, Time to be leaders and best. You've got to be leaders and best in this. That's been the mantra of this university. It's been the mantra of this football program for generations, for 100 years. And Michigan cannot leave this to chance. They cannot drop the ball. They cannot slow play. They better have everything possible they can do to make sure that their student athletes are not at a disadvantage compared to their rivals, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, or other universities. If you want to compete for a national title, you're competing against Alabama, you're competing against LSU, Texas, Oklahoma. Trust me, those schools are doing everything they can, I believe. I hope Michigan is. It seems like they're on that path, the University of Michigan is, but we'll see, right? The schools are not allowed, Michigan included, are not allowed to be a broker or be an agent or recommend or drive like, hey, you should work with this person. Also, you're not allowed to wear like Michigan logos. You're not allowed to, I'm just wearing, I didn't get this from the University of Michigan. I bought this myself. I can wear it, but a student athlete can't appear in his uniform, can't appear in anything like that. So there's a fine line. Things in media, selling products is probably fine. I think there'll be opportunities, things with Cameo. Imagine it is your dad's birthday, your brother's birthday, your mom's birthday, and you get Aiden Hutchinson to send him a video, and you pay him $200-300. I think that's a pretty good deal. I think Aiden Hutchinson could take him a matter of moments. So I think Michigan will have opportunities here. What they have to do is make sure they're not doing anything to prevent their athletes from making money, and they are not preventing Michigan as a university from being one of the leaders and best at this, and not getting negative recruited. Because the first time that Michigan is behind the ball, and every school that competes with them in recruiting will just be like, hey, go to Michigan. You're going to be losing money, though. You're going to be losing money. Come here. We're going to hook you up with that. One thing to note, before I ask you guys a question, it's a very important one, so keep listening here. Just about 30 seconds, I'll talk to you about a question that I'm pretty interested in, is Michigan, the state of Michigan, and by proxy, Michigan and Michigan State, are taking a little heat on the internet streets. Darren Ravel, kind of a shock jock on Twitter, was trying to take shots at Michigan. I think he was a little misguided, but the state law in the state of Michigan right now that went into effect today actually is much more limiting with how athletes approach deals. They've got to give a student athlete has to give the university a 7-day heads up before they can engage in any participation with a company for name, image, and likeness. Then they have to give the full contract and all this different stuff. It has to be approved. Where other states are 24 hours, 48 hours. I think a couple I've seen 4 days, but 7 is, as far as I know right now, the most strict of any state when it comes to name, image, and likeness. State, and then obviously state-run universities have to abide by those rules. So let me throw a little scenario past you. If this isn't changed, hey, it's my brother's birthday tomorrow. I forgot. I'd love to give Aiden Hutchinson $500 to sing him happy birthday, but Aiden Hutchinson's got to submit that to the University of Michigan and wait 7 days. Well, my brother's birthday is over by 7 days. Or let's say Cade McNamara throws a game-winning touchdown pass against Penn State, and some brand wants to say, hey, Cade, why don't you come in and say, if you want to be a game winner like I am, drive this Ford truck. But he's got to wait 7 days, and the vibe wears off, and Michigan goes and loses their next game. Like, we're good on that deal now. You're not looking as good as you were last week. So I hope Michigan brings this to the forefront with state legislators, whoever they have to talk to get that amended to be more competitive with other states. But the question of the day, the one I'm interested in is, I think there's opportunities for us, the Michigan fans and alumni and people who live and die by this program. Maybe we could be part of this. So would you pay $10? I'm not saying I'm doing it, but I certainly would if you guys are interested. Pay $10 towards a Michigan name, image, and likeness fund. We'll call it the Michigan Fan Corporation. Thousands of people pay $10 a month, and we'll just pool a couple $1,000,000 a year and say, hey, Aiden Hutchinson, go wear this hat that said the Michigan Fan Association for us, and we're going to pay you $1,000 a week to do it. So, I mean, there's opportunities here. There's a ton of opportunities. Or, hey, we could pay an Ohio State player, their starting quarterback, $100,000 to skip the game and come hang out at our fake company. So, let me know why for yes and for no. Would you pay $10 a month towards a Michigan football name, image, and likeness fund? As we wrap up the show today, it is Customer Service Month here at Chat Sports. So if you like the show, please recommend it to a friend. Send them the link. Hit your buddies in a group text message with, hit up this show on YouTube. It's good stuff. But also conversely, it doesn't say in the bottom of the screen, but conversely, if you don't like us, if you think the show's not entertaining, I'm a jerk, whatever it is, Let us know in the comments. Let us know what you would change about the show to make it more appealing and to make it one that you would recommend to your friends. As always, is youtube.com/MichiganTV.